is that it is your practice, and whatever doesn't feel great in the body, please don't do. So I'm actually going to mute you. That's one of the other reasons why I got up. And I'll open it up at the end of the class. But the one thing that's really nice is that you want to just kind of focus on stillness and quietness. So on that note, ladies, I'll chat with you all in a bit, but I'm going to mute you, if you don't mind. So the first pose that we're going to come into is child's pose. So a couple of options here. One version is big toes together and knees nice and wide on the mat. Now, if that's not comfortable for you, you can always take a blanket and roll it. And you can take the blanket in between the ankles and the tush just to give you more space. If that's too much of a stretch for you, because it's a big stretch to the front of the quadriceps with those thigh bones. So you can always add that to it. That's the first adaptation. So throughout this, I'm going to offer you all kinds of adaptations for your pose. So just go ahead and make changes that make it feel comfortable for you. If you're doing something that doesn't feel pleasant and wonderful, make any modifications to your stance, add some extra pillows or blankets to do that. So we're going to come into a supportive child's pose first off. If you have a blanket or a bolster or a pillow, you can even use a block, 2 blocks together. And it's nice to actually add a blanket on top of that, just to soften some of the rough edges of that. We're going to go ahead and take the blanket in between the bolster in between the knees. And then we're just going to reach out and support the torso on the mat, on the bolster. You can either have the right ear or the left ear on the mat, or the forehead on the mat, whatever's comfortable. Let the arms just stretch out and rest on the mat, palms down, and start to soften the buttocks towards the heels, and let that torso get really heavy on your bolster. We're going to focus on the breath, quieting the mind, quieting the body. And with each exhalation throughout this practice, we're going to try and work on just softening a little bit more, letting everything get a little heavier. So I like to start the class by just doing a quick inventory of the body, checking in with how you're feeling, checking in with how the muscles are feeling and the joints are feeling. Any areas where there's tightness or tension, can you send the breath there? Creating a little space, a little surrender. Make sure that that forehead is smooth. There's no tension in the jaw. And with each exhalation, can you melt just a little deeper into the bolster, letting gravity do its thing, and just settle it. Now, if you are resting on one ear, I'm going to give you a reminder just to switch sides so we don't have too much tension created on one side of the neck. So if you are on one side, I'll get you to switch in a moment, but I'll let you know when that is. Settle Take a great big breath in through the nose, and if you're resting on one side, with the next exhale, you're going to lift the head slightly, just to turn the head so you can rest your head on the other ear. And now with every exhalation, can you let that tailbone get a little heavier as it starts to melt a little closer to the floor? Please stay exactly where you are. I'm just going to start to describe the next pose. We're actually going to start to float the torso away from the bolster or the support. And we're going to make our way onto our buttocks and tongue. And we're going to make a little ramp in behind us. So if you have a block, we're going to take the blocks from the highest point to the lowest point and rest a bolster on it. If you don't have a bolster and you have a large pillow or a blanket, you can create the same sort of thing with support. So take the last exhale in this position. Begin to float the heart away. Make your way onto your buttocks. Feet are going to be on the mat and the knees are going to be bent. And we're going to make that ramp in behind us. So hopefully you can see this. And I'm going to take my bolster and I'm going to place it so that it's on an incline, about a 45-degree incline. And then take the tush to the end of the bolster, and we're going to start to send the spine along the support. So if you're using blocks or pillows, as long as you're on an incline, that's all we're looking for. Second option, you can take pillows underneath the knees as support. But as we lie down, we're really working on the opening into the heart and the chest, especially right now, everyone's spending so much time wrapped around technology. Let the shoulders get really heavy and let them start to float towards the mat. And as it does that, you should create this big, expansive opening through the chest. Now, in order to take that opening just a little bit further, we're going to start to flip the palms up towards the heavens. Send the arms outside, extending out from the shoulders on the mat, supported palms up. Close the eyes. And now the work here is with each exhalation, can those shoulders get just a little heavier? And can they soften just a little bit more towards the mat? And can that spine melt a little deeper into the support that it's resting on? And can those knees get heavy? We're going to do just a little bit of breath work here. We're going to inhale slowly through the nose for a count of 4, and then we're going to exhale slowly through the mouth for a count of 6. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, let the shoulders get heavy. 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the natural rhythm of the breath return. Focusing on the breath, quiet the mind, quiet the body. We're going to keep the torso exactly where it is, weighing heavily on its support. And we're going to start to bring the soles of the feet together. And those heels don't have to be anywhere close to the torso. We're just bringing the soles of the feet together. And if you have an extra blanket, you're just going to place the blankets or the pillows to support the knees. So once again, trying to take all the muscular effort away from the palms. Palms to the heavens. Let the eyes melt a little deeper into their sockets. Settle in. once again, stay exactly where you are. I'm just going to explain the next pose. We're going to make our way onto our backs and we're going to get into some twisting into the spine, hopefully opening up through some of the hips. So now reach down to either side of the knee, just gently bring the knees together. We're going to remove any support that we were using underneath the knees. We're going to sit up just enough so that we can take the bolster and blocks or any other support that you had away. And you're going to make your way onto your back. Now you may want to take a blanket to support the neck or a flatter pillow underneath the head. And then just rolling down, sitting the entire spine onto the mat. We're going to have a bolster or a pillow running somewhere between the waist and the knees. Take a great big breath in, and as you exhale, ladies, float that right knee to the chest. Interlace your fingers on that shin and just let that leg get heavy. We're just here for a couple of breaths. No effort, just using gravity. Have no expectations. And now we're going to go ahead and take our left arm. You've got a couple of options. You can take the arm straight out like a T, or you can take it into a stop sign, either palm up towards the heavens or as a T, palms down towards the earth. We're going to start to float that right knee off to the left to where that pillow is, coming into a twist. The work here is to try and keep the shoulders on the mat. So once again, arms can be extended straight out, or they can be in stop sign. Now, if you're a little bit more mobile and you want to float that knee all the way to the floor, that's always an option. If you're doing that, you might want to take the bolster behind you just to feel that it's lending some support, and we'll settle here. Make any adjustments so that you're comfortable. It's really important that you're comfortable in your pose because we know that we are maintaining the posture for quite a long time, longer than normal practice. So make sure you're comfortable. Make any modifications. Add any support that you need to feel grounded and buoyed. So once again, ladies, we're going to actually transition one more time. But before you move, we're actually just going to float and keep rotating to the right till we're on our bellies. We're going to keep our right knee on our support, whether that's a blanket or a bolster or a pillow. Here's the difference. If you know that your hips are really tight, you're going to remove the bolster completely. If you know your hips are a little more open, you can keep the knee on the bolster. But this is quite a large stretch when we float onto our bellies. So if you know you're a little tighter, remove the bolster. And I'd recommend that for everyone. You can always add it back in. So at this point, we're going to start to send that right shoulder towards the center, towards the sky, and now towards the left. And we float onto our bellies. So we rest that right thigh on the bolster or pillow, and we let that right hip point get really heavy as it melts into the earth. So we get this lovely opening through the front of the hip. You decide which ear rests on the pillow, and I'll give you a halfway mark if you like, so you can switch sides. Now, with each exhalation, can that belly get heavier on the mat? Can that right hip get heavier as it floats towards the floor? And maybe that ear that's resting on the pillow or the blanket melts a little deeper into the mat. Go ahead and switch sides with the ears. Ladies, once again, stay exactly where you are, and I'll talk you through this. In a moment, we're going to make our way back onto our backs. And we're going to repeat the exact same thing on the opposite side. So when you're ready, start to gently rolling back onto your back. We don't have to move with any haste. And once you arrive on your back, take the bolster from one side, from that left side, float it onto the right side. And now inhale left knee to the chest, interlace your fingers on your shins, and just use gravity and patience to allow that leg to get heavy as it softens towards the torso. And let's just take a couple of breaths here. Just like any of the yoga practice, your rules. Always be mindful to make sure that you're nourishing the body with what it needs. And now we're going to take the right hand to the outside of that left knee. We're going to start to float that left knee across the body, coming into a twist. Go ahead and make any adjustments to support that left knee. And then once again, arms can be straight out like a T, or they can be bent in stop sign, whatever's most comfortable for you. Close the eyes. Let them melt just a little deeper into their sockets.
There's no need for explanation this time because we know exactly where we're going. So with the next exhalation, we're going to start to float that left shoulder towards the right, making your way onto our bellies one more time with that big hip opening on the left side. Once again, you decide whether you want the bolster leg or support underneath that leg, or if you want that leg to rest on the floor. Once again, I'll give you a halfway mark so you can switch your ears to even out the neck. We start to let that belly get heavy as it rests into the mat. The right hip point is heavy in the mat, and that left hip point is melting closer to the mat and deeper into the mat. At this point, it's a good idea to start to turn the head and allow the other ear to rest firmly on the support. We are slowly going to start to move onto our right side. And keep the blanket underneath the head. You can bend that right arm if you'd like to support it, or you can have the arm straight out, either as a T or straight out behind you, whatever's comfortable. And we're going to take the bolster or the pillow in between the knees and bring the knees up in line with the hips. Let the knees get heavy. We're just going to settle here, not as long as the last poses, just for a couple minutes each side before we take it to our final Shavasana. That left arm can be on the torso, it can be on the mat, wherever it's comfortable for you. Ladies, once again, we're going to start to transition back onto our backs, bringing the knees back up towards the heavens. And we're going to make our way onto our left side. And once again, make sure that you take a bolster or a pillow in between the knees. Come up to that left side. Decide where you're comfortable with your arms. And then once again, we'll settle in. Ladies, once again, we're going to transition onto our backs. And with the next exhale, we're going to start to float the knees up towards the heavens. Keep the soles of the feet on the floor. And you want to have your heels close enough so that you could just graze your heels with your middle finger. And we're going to go ahead and take a bolster or a block underneath the sacrum, which is that big triangular bone just above the tailbone. And to do that, we're going to take a big breath in, and as we exhale, we're going to root the heels into the mat and float the hips up. The other option, if you don't want to do that, is simply to sit up and take your bolster or your blocks onto the mat. Any which way you want to get into this is great. But again, it's the large triangular bone just above the tailbone that rests on the bolster. We're going to have the feet on the mat, the knees bent to start. Once again, arms can be out like T's on the stop sign, whatever's most comfortable. And I'm going to take you through a couple of transitions and options, and we're going to actually end with the pose that's the most comfortable for you. Option 1, keeping the knees exactly where they are if you're comfortable here. Option 2, we're going to walk the feet a little further apart so that they rest on the outsides of the mat and allow the knees to collapse together. So we're getting more of a stretch on the outside of the hips. That's the second option. Third option, we're going to walk the feet back in line with the hips. And maybe we're going to send one leg straight out for a stretch on the front of the hip. Maybe we send both legs straight out. And then the final option would be to have the legs extended, but to start to bring the soles of the feet together one more time and let the knees get heavy. So whatever version of this stretch through the hip girdle feels delicious, I welcome you to take that pose right now and settle in. And I want you to see if you can use a little bit more imagery here and see if you can send all your weight to that big triangular bone that's supporting you right now. And can that get just a little heavier? And maybe it melts into your blocks or your bolster just a little bit more. Picture the legs are comfortable wherever they are. Make sure the arms are comfortable wherever they are. Let the eyes roll back a little deeper into their sockets and settle in. Ladies, this is our last formal pose of the night. And what I ask you to do as you rest in this pose is to think about how you might like to spend final Shavasana. Maybe there's an area of the body that still needs a little bit more attention. And maybe before we determine that, maybe let's go back and do that. Repeat that scan that we did at the beginning of the class. So check in with the body one more time. Move through it a little more slowly. And it doesn't matter whether you start from the top of the head or the tips of the toes. But check in with the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, the joints. Spending extra attention into the hip girdle, the shoulder girdle, the spine. Often we carry a lot of our tension. And now keeping that scan in mind. Once again, start to think about final Shavasana and which pose you'd like to end your practice in. Maybe there was one that we did throughout the class tonight that you want to revisit. Maybe you just want to lie flat on your back. If you've got a wall handy, maybe you want to bring legs up the wall. But think about the pose that would offer your body the most surrender for you to absorb all the great practice this evening. I encourage you to use any of the blocks and bolsters and supports that you have with you. And at this point, make your way to the pose that will offer you the surrender that your body needs. And as you lie here, can those eyes roll back a little deeper into their sockets? Check in with the jaw, make sure it's not clenched. Maybe the mouth opens a bit. Maybe the tongue moves forward in the mouth. Make sure the brow is smooth. Let the spine get heavier and heavier with each exhalation. And melt just a little deeper into your mouth. Focusing on the breath, quieting the mind, quieting the breath, quieting the body. we're slowly, kindly, gently going to start to reintroduce movement back in the body. We don't move with any haste at all. We're not in any rush to be anywhere. Everything is just a suggestion. Maybe it feels good to wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe it feels nice to bring some rotations into the wrists and the ankles. Maybe switching directions. Perhaps you want to bring one ear towards the mat and then the other, bringing some rotation through the head. Maybe you want to bring your arms overhead onto the mat, sending energy out through fingers and toes, getting really long. Great big body stretch. Maybe you want to bring a little movement into the torso. And maybe you want to roll onto your right side and settle there for a breath or two. And then we're not in any rush or any haste to move quickly. Maybe wiggle fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. Not sure when I lost the connection, guys, so if I'm being repetitive, I apologize. Anything that feels good as you introduce movement back into the body, and then we'll make our way to a comfortable seated position. Let's bring hands to heart center. Gentle bow of the head. Giving thanks that we took an hour just for ourselves today. Being grateful that we were able to take some time to rebalance, to check in, recharge, and to practice with people that are near and dear to my heart. So thank you for spending your time with me tonight. And out of the place in you where the whole universe resides, and when you are in that place in you and I am in that place in me, we are one. Namaste.